Going to go live in one, two, three. You're alive.
Live.
Yes, you are
Excellent.
alive.
Very cool. Is that why there's a red box up there? No, that's something else.
Yeah, don't worry about that. But we are talking to Patricia Kambitsch. She is a resident, a born Daytonian, and
Yep.
a resident of the Dayton area, and a resident also of the Toronto, Canada area, city slash living scape, whatever you want to call it. And I think you probably have some really interesting observations. I know you are you'll never stop loving Dayton.
It's true. I keep coming back.
Yeah, we all have a even if it's a love-hate relationship, we've all got that. You know, what are some of the things after living in? How long have you guys lived up in Canada, off and on?
Off and on for about 5 years.
Off and on for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what? Just tell me some of the what has gone on to you as in your observations of life in a city, life in a community since this time. You know what's and how has it changed your view of your hometown of Dayton?
Things that I've noticed about Dayton and how it's changed.
No, how has living in Canada
Oh, okay.
changed, giving your perspective
I see.
on urban areas and urban living, and contrasting that with Dayton, and just how's it changed your worldview?
Wow. Well,
If
I
at all.
guess I've really grown an appreciation for real community, the kind of community where you're sharing space, where you have common interests like meal planning, sharing resources, sharing projects together.
Mhm.
I just have a greater and greater appreciation of that, and making that really top priority over having things,
Yeah.
having position, and having title.
hmm You think a lot of us are way too wrapped up in that?
I think a lot of us are so disconnected and worried and fearful of so many things that we've kind of built a wall of protection around ourselves.
Do you think that is pretty present in the Dayton area?
I
We're
see
talking on
that
macro.
especially, I see it in the suburbs
hmm
a lot. That's where we still have a house in Sugar Creek. Although I was born in East Side Dayton, lived in Five Oaks, taught in the Dayton Public Schools. So I'm really much more identified with the city of Dayton than I would be in the suburbs. The suburbs are scary places for me. I still don't know some of my neighbors there that I in the house that we have there, even though we've had a residence there for about 10 years.
Isn't that
You know,
kind of
it's just really hard to get to know them, and they think we're like freaks for stepping out and talking to them.
yeah? But isn't that the really some of the underpinning of why people go to the suburbs, to be left alone? And didn't that say a lot? There's like, yeah, we laugh at it, but it's like there is, or it's a leftover, and it's still with us of the industrial age of Americans' hatred of cities,
Right.
whether it's deserve it or not.
Right. Well, it's love-hate, I think.
Yeah.
But not having a central core. That's what the thing that, over the past few years, just being able to see Dayton become this donut, this totally hollow center, just it's so heartbreaking to see that. And like your recent post, like the one on about the old Julianne building,
Yeah.
just that something, that a structure that was created for community, was created for community sharing, not just for the girls who went to school there, but for the parishes and the whole neighborhood those kinds of things being left alone and empty is just so, and like in a city like Toronto, there's not a square inch of space that isn't claimed. So it's a,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Would people in
Claimed and
Toronto
populated.
think that, like, if the same thing were going on there, would people be thinking, are you people, are you mad? Are you
Yeah, I
crazy?
tell them about property value and what's available. And it's like, well, why? Why? And of course, it's all very complex. There's no simple reason, but yeah, it's hard for them to even imagine.
I would say, how much of it is mental isolation of disparate communities, mental and physical, and how much of it is completely perpetuated by the mainstream media in Dayton. I was talking to, if you saw my post, I think the video with Jackie, we were talking about the racial divide in Dayton.
Right.
And they showed, for 99 good things that happen a day, they're going to show the one bad thing. And 25 years of showing the one bad thing eventually makes, then the whole game is going to become the bad thing eventually, because it's a self-perpetuating, there's a lot of people who made lots and lots of money in building this giant sprawl outfrastructure, if you will. It's not really an infrastructure, it's an outfrastructure. And it has enormous costs, and it's built on a lot of social misunderstanding.
Sure. The one good thing about all of that I see is that nobody's really paying attention to mainstream media much anymore anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
you wouldn't believe how excited people are over just
right.
what the little things we're doing here.
Right. So, I mean, just that, there's, you can post your viewpoints on YouTube. You can have your own podcast channel. All of that I think is really powerful, and that nobody's really buying newspapers, and very few people are watching the local news anymore. I think is all really, it's good news for the reasons that you just said, for the bad news that people have continually been fed.
Sure, because we can bring, with a decent flip cam, you can humanize people now that the mainstream media structures have continually dehumanized for decades, and there's a money structure built upon this dehumanization of certain populations.
Right.
And what we want to do is humanize the citizenry. Once again, I think if we can humanize the citizenry to the eyes of as many people as we can, then people are going to say, what do we do all this for? This was stupid. You guys ripped us off. Well,
when we start realizing how interconnected we are, whether we like it or not, that no matter how much we try to build these walls and distance ourselves and isolate ourselves and protect ourselves, it's just, when we see that it's self-interest that keeps us connected.
Yeah, which and it doesn't end around and becomes a group interest. Self-interest is group interest, and we have evolutionary altruism. We had to be altruistic for thousands and thousands of years in order to survive. There was not a whole lot of hunter-gatherer libertarians.
Right.
Because you just didn't get along. And but anyway, I appreciate your time talking to me with this. You're a former Dayton Public School teacher.
Yes.
Well.
Very proud to be. Yes.
You're going to be substitute teaching here and there around the area next year and doing some stuff with this. And
good for the kids.
And stuff. Thank
you.
You.
Oh, you'll open some eyes, I'm sure.
Well, I always like to say I was the only Dayton Public School bus driver who regularly quoted Soren Kierkegaard to the children of Dayton while they were on the bus, leaving them going like this every day, but that's okay. Let's talk about schools next time we talk.
Okay, great. I would love to.
You're all about slow learning. I'm one of the. I'm a student from way back when whose teacher says that guy. We can't handle him in this class. And then people later on down the road would come up to me and say, well, I didn't know that all that stuff was in your brain. And why is that happening? And we'll talk about that. This
All right.
has been David Sparks interviewing Patricia Kambitsch of Dayton, Ohio, of Toronto, Canada. And I thank you for being on the Dayton Informer.